Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how two people with the same talent, same education, same opportunities end up in completely different places in life? One is peaceful, one is always stressed, one grows quietly, one keeps complaining loudly. What's the difference? It's not luck, it's not intelligence, it's not even hard work. It's something much smaller, something almost invisible, just 1%. You see, life rarely changes with big, dramatic decisions. Life changes when you adjust the small habits you repeat every day. Not 100%, not even 50%, just 1% better thinking, 1% better reacting, 1% better choosing. Today, I don't want to motivate you. I want to realign you, because when your mindset shifts by just 1%, everything else follows. This is the 1% mindset that changes everything. Let me tell you something very honest. Most people are not stuck because they lack ability. They are stuck because they are waiting for the right time, waiting for the perfect opportunity, waiting for someone to notice them, waiting for life to become easier. And while they wait, life quietly moves on. We tell ourselves stories like, once I get that job, then I'll be disciplined. Once my problems end, then I'll be positive. Once I feel motivated, then I'll start. But let me gently remind you, motivation doesn't come before action. Action comes first. Motivation follows later. Big change feels attractive. It feels powerful. It feels cinematic. But real life doesn't work in movie scenes. Real life works in small, repeated moments. You don't destroy your health in one day. You don't build confidence in one speech. You don't become successful in one decision. Everything meaningful grows slowly, quietly, invisibly. Think about a tree. On the first day you plant the seed, nothing happens. On the second day, still nothing. After a week, nothing. After a month, nothing. And then one day suddenly you see a small shoot. People say, wow, it grew so fast. No, it was growing every day underground. Your life works exactly the same way. When we wait for big change, we give our responsibility to the future. We say, tomorrow will fix what I'm avoiding today. But tomorrow is not a magician. Tomorrow is just today repeated again. Small habits don't look powerful, which is why most people ignore them. Waking up 10 minutes earlier doesn't feel life-changing. Reading 2 pages doesn't feel impressive. Controlling one angry reaction doesn't feel heroic. But these small actions do something dangerous. They change your identity. You don't wake up one day and suddenly become confident. You become confident by keeping small promises to yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when no one is watching, your self-respect grows by 1%. And let me say this clearly. Self-respect is the foundation of self-confidence. Big goals often intimidate us. They shout, you're not ready. Small actions whisper, just try. That's why the 1% mindset works. It doesn't ask, can you change your whole life today? It asks, can you improve this moment slightly? Just slightly. Can you listen instead of interrupting? Can you breathe before reacting? Can you show up even when you don't feel like it? People overestimate what they can do in 1 month and underestimate what they can do in 1 year. Waiting for big change keeps you emotionally busy, but practically stuck. Small change keeps you humble. But moving and movement, even slow movement, creates hope. You don't need a breakthrough, you need a breakthrough habit. Because once you start respecting small actions, life starts respecting you back. Stop asking, when will my life change? Start asking, what 1% can I improve today? That question, answered daily, changes everything. Let's talk about something that quietly controls the quality of our life. Reactions. Most of us believe our problems come from people, situations, or circumstances. But if you observe closely, you'll realize something uncomfortable, yet powerful. It's not what happens to us that hurts us the most. It's how we respond to it. 2 people can face the same insult. One carries it for years, the other drops it in minutes. Same situation, different reaction, different life. We spend so much energy trying to control the outside world. We want people to behave properly. We want situations to be fair. We want life to follow our expectations. But life has its own plans. The moment you accept that you cannot control events, but you can control a response, you move from being a victim to being powerful. Here is the uncomfortable truth. No one can make you angry without your cooperation. Yes, they may provoke you. Yes, they may be unfair. Yes, they may be wrong. But anger only enters when we invite it in. Most reactions are not choices, they are habits. We react quickly because we have practiced reacting quickly for years. We shout because we have learned shouting. We get defensive because we have trained ourselves to defend. And what is practiced becomes automatic. That is why the 1% mindset does not demand perfection. It asks for a pause. Just one pause. That pause between stimulus and response is the most powerful space in your life. In that small space, you decide whether you will respond with wisdom or react with emotion. Most regrets are born in moments of fast reactions, words spoken in anger, decisions taken in fear, actions done in ego. We say, I didn't mean it, but the damage is already done. A calm person doesn't mean a weak person. A calm person is someone who has learned that peace is more valuable than proving a point. Sometimes silence is not avoidance, it is intelligence. Sometimes walking away is not weakness, it is self-respect. When you control your reactions, you protect your energy, and energy is limited. Why waste your emotional energy on people who don't deserve your explanation or situations that won't matter in 5 years? Every reaction is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. When you react impulsively, you let others control your inner world. When you respond consciously, you take your power back. The 1% improvement here is simple, but not easy. Before reacting, ask yourself quietly, will this matter tomorrow? Is this worth my peace? Am I responding or am I reacting? That one question can save relationships. That one breath can save your dignity. That one moment can change the direction of your day. Life will always test you. People will disappoint you. Situations will frustrate you. But remember this. You are not responsible for every storm, but you are responsible for how you hold the umbrella. Master your reactions, and slowly, without noise, you master your life. Not by force, not by control, but by calm awareness. 1% at a time. Most people believe that success comes from doing something extraordinary. Once in a while, working non-stop for a few days, suddenly waking up inspired, giving one heroic effort, and expecting life to change. But real growth doesn't work like a festival, it works like a routine. Intensity is exciting, it gives you a rush, it makes you feel powerful for a moment. But intensity is emotional, and emotions are temporary. Consistency, on the other hand, is quiet. It doesn't clap for you, it doesn't make noise, it simply shows up again and again. And that is why it works. Anyone can be intense for a day. Few can be consistent for a year. When you rely on intensity, your progress depends on mood. If you feel motivated, you act. If you feel tired, you stop. Life doesn't move forward on motivation. Life moves forward on commitment. Consistency means doing the right thing, even when you don't feel like it, even when no one is watching, even when results are invisible. Let me say something important. Consistency builds trust. First, trust in yourself. When you show up daily, your mind starts believing, I can rely on me. That belief is rare and powerful. Second, trust from the world. People trust those who are predictable in effort, not those who are brilliant only occasionally. A little effort done daily is more powerful than massive effort done randomly. Think of brushing your teeth. It takes 2 minutes. You don't see results immediately, but stop doing it for a month, and the damage becomes obvious. Success works the same way. Skipping small habits doesn't feel dangerous, but slowly it weakens your foundation. Consistency compounds silently. You don't notice the change day to day, but one day you look back and realize you're not the same person anymore. Intensity focuses on outcomes. Consistency focuses on identity. When you act consistently, you stop asking, will this work? You start saying, this is who I am. I am someone who shows up. I am someone who keeps promises. I am someone who doesn't quit easily. And identity always wins over motivation. Consistency also removes fear. Big goals feel scary. Daily small actions feel manageable. You don't climb a mountain by staring at the peak. You climb it by watching your next step. The 1% mindset understands this deeply. It doesn't demand perfection, it demands presence. Some days you will move fast, some days slow, but you don't stop moving. Even showing up at 10% effort is better than disappearing calm. Completely. Intensity burns out. Consistency builds endurance. Burnout makes you quit. Endurance takes you further than talent ever will. When you respect consistency, time becomes your ally. Days stop fighting you. Weeks start working for you. Months quietly transform you. And one day people will ask, "How did you do this?" You'll smile and say nothing. Because the truth is simple. You didn't do anything dramatic. You just didn't stop. One small step, taken daily, with patience. That's how everything meaningful is built. Not loudly, not quickly, but consistently. 1% every day. Let's talk about something we rarely notice, but something that quietly decides the direction of our life. The voice inside our head. You can leave a negative environment. You can avoid negative people, but you cannot escape your own inner dialogue. It speaks when you wake up. It speaks when you fail. It speaks when no one else is around. And slowly, silently, it becomes your truth. Most of us don't suffer because life is too hard. We suffer because the way we talk to ourselves is too harsh. We make mistakes and say, "I'm useless. I always mess things up. This is just who I am." But let me ask you, would you ever speak to a friend like that? If a friend fails, you encourage them. If a friend struggles, you give them patience. If a friend falls, you help them stand again. But with ourselves, we become judges, not friends. The mind believes what it hears repeatedly. It doesn't check whether it's true or kind. It just accepts it. And then it behaves accordingly. If you constantly tell yourself you are weak, your actions will become weak. If you constantly tell yourself you can't change, your mind stops trying. Your inner dialogue becomes your operating system. That is why the 1% mindset doesn't say, lie to yourself. It says, speak to yourself wisely. There is a huge difference between self-criticism and self-awareness. Self-awareness says, I made a mistake. I can improve. Self-criticism says, I am the mistake. One leads to growth. The other leads to shame. And shame never improves anyone. You don't need to constantly motivate yourself. You need to correct your language. Instead of saying, I can't do this, say, I'm learning how to do this. Instead of saying, I always fail, say, I haven't succeeded yet. These are not small changes. These are identity shifts. Words create emotional reactions. Emotions drive behavior. Behavior shapes destiny. Your inner voice decides whether you show up or hide, whether you try again or give up, whether you grow or stay stuck. Another important thing, your inner dialogue controls your peace. When the voice inside is aggressive, even success feels stressful. When the voice inside is calm, even failure becomes manageable. A peaceful mind doesn't mean a problem-free life. It means a life where problems don't destroy you. Observe your thoughts, not to fight them, but to understand them. You are not every thought you have. You are the one listening to those thoughts. That awareness itself creates distance, and distance creates choice. The 1% improvement here is simple, but life-changing. Catch one negative thought each day, just one, and gently rewrite it. Not dramatically, not forcefully, just honestly. Over time, your mind stops attacking you and starts supporting you. And when your own mind is on your side, life becomes lighter. Same challenges, same responsibilities, but a different inner experience. Remember this, the most important conversation you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. Change that conversation slowly, patiently, 1% at a time, and without realizing it, your entire life starts speaking a different language. Let's talk about something we misunderstand deeply. Discipline. The moment we hear the word discipline, we imagine punishment, restriction, pressure. We think of forcing ourselves, controlling ourselves, living a life with no joy. But real discipline has nothing to do with suffering. Real discipline is self-respect in action. When you respect someone, you don't constantly betray them, you don't lie to them, you don't make promises and break them every day. Yet many of us do exactly that to ourselves. We say, I'll start tomorrow, I'll wake up early, I'll take care of my health, I'll control my anger, and then tomorrow comes and we ignore ourselves. Slowly, without realizing it, we teach our mind something dangerous, that our words don't matter. And when your own mind stops trusting you, confidence collapses. Discipline is not about being strict, it's about being reliable. It's about becoming someone who does what they say they will do, especially when no one is watching. Motivation comes and goes, mood changes daily, energy rises and falls. If your life depends on motivation, your life will be unstable. Discipline is what carries you on days when motivation disappears. It's the quiet decision that says, I may not feel like it, but I care about my future. Self-respect grows when you honor small commitments. Waking up when you said you would, stopping when you said you would, choosing long-term peace over short-term pleasure. These choices may look small to others, but inside they build strength. Every time you choose discipline, you send yourself a message, I matter, and the opposite is also true. Every time you ignore your commitments, you send another message, I don't matter. Over time, those messages become beliefs. Discipline is not about controlling life, it's about controlling yourself. Because and you can't control yourself, everything else controls you. People, habits, emotions, distractions. Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want. Freedom comes from having the ability to do what is right. There is also a misconception that disciplined people are rigid and unhappy. In reality, disciplined people have more peace. They don't constantly negotiate with themselves. They don't waste energy on internal conflict. They decide once and move on. Discipline removes chaos from the mind. It creates structure, and structure creates calm. The 1% mindset doesn't demand extreme discipline. It demands consistent honesty with yourself. Don't promise what you can't keep. Start with small, realistic commitments, and then keep them. One promise kept is better than 10 promises broken. When discipline comes from self-respect, it doesn't feel heavy, it feels grounding. You stop asking, can I trust myself? Because you already know the answer. And that trust changes how you walk, how you speak, how you decide. Not because you're perfect, but because you are aligned. Discipline is not about becoming harsh, it's about becoming whole. And when you live with self-respect, life starts respecting you back. Quietly, steadily, 1% at a time. Let's reflect on something that almost everyone misunderstands. The need for external validation. From a very young age, we are trained to seek approval. We want our parents to be proud, our teachers to notice us, our friends to like us, even strangers to nod, smile, or praise our efforts. It's natural. We are social beings. We crave connection. We crave acceptance. But the problem begins when approval becomes a measure of our self-worth, when our happiness depends on someone else saying, you are good enough, you are capable, you are important. Then life becomes a constant struggle to meet expectations. Every action is tainted with the fear of judgment. Every decision is questioned. Every choice weighed against what others might think. And slowly, quietly, we start losing ourselves. We start saying yes when we want to say no. We start pretending to be someone we are not. We start living a life that looks good on the outside, but feels empty on the inside. The 1% mindset asks you to do something radical, to detach from the need for constant approval. This does not mean you stop caring about others. It does not mean you ignore guidance, advice, or love. It means you care more about your own growth and values than applause. Think about it. Some of the most successful, fulfilled people you admire, they didn't wait for validation. They took small steps consistently, even when no one was watching, even when the world seemed indifferent. That's the quiet magic of life. Silent growth is powerful because it is authentic. When you chase validation, you are building your life on sand. It shifts constantly. People's opinions change, circumstances change, the world is unpredictable. But when you build on self-approval, self-respect, and self-trust, you create a foundation of stone. Nothing can shake it. Let me give you a small example. Imagine a student who studies not for grades, but because they genuinely want to learn. At first, no one notices. There's no applause. But slowly, the knowledge compounds, the skills develop, and one day, everyone notices. Not because they were chasing recognition, but because they were focused on growth itself. The same applies to your work, your relationships, your character. Detachment from validation gives you freedom. Freedom to make mistakes. Freedom to experiment. Freedom to choose what aligns with your values. When you stop performing for others, you stop reacting to criticism, the W, wrong way. You stop shrinking for fear of judgment. You stop overcomplicating your life with other people's opinions. This doesn't happen overnight. It happens 1% at a time. Catch yourself the next time you do something just to impress someone. Pause, ask, am I doing this for me or for them? Shift slowly toward doing it for yourself. It is not arrogance. It is clarity. It is self-mastery. And once you master this, life stops being a performance. It becomes an expression. Your actions become meaningful, not because the world applauds, but because your own heart is proud. The 1% improvement here is simple but revolutionary. Detach just a little each day from the need for approval, and slowly, without drama, you reclaim your peace. The world may not notice, that's fine, because your growth is yours to own, and that is infinitely more powerful than any applause. Let's explore something that many people get wrong about life: perfection. We live in a world obsessed with being perfect. From social media to professional life, we are constantly bombarded with images of flawless outcomes, ideal performances, and extraordinary success. And slowly, without realizing it, we start comparing our messy, imperfect journey to someone else's polished highlight reel. We tell ourselves, I can't start because I'm not ready. I can't try because I might fail. I can't share my work because it's not perfect. And so, life gets delayed. Opportunities slip by. Dreams stay on the shelf. Potential remains untapped. Perfection is an illusion. It is a trap. It convinces you that you are never enough and that your efforts are meaningless unless flawless. The 1% mindset, however, asks us to shift our perspective. It doesn't demand perfection, it demands progress. Progress is the quiet, steady movement forward. Progress is the small, consistent action that improve. Your skill, your understanding, your mindset, it's not glamorous, it's not dramatic, but it works. Let me explain this in a simple way. Imagine a painter. If they wait until every stroke is perfect before showing their work, they might never finish the painting. But if they focus on improving each stroke, learning from each mistake, their painting grows. It becomes better and better over time. The same is true for every area of life. Learning a new skill, building a business, improving relationships, even improving yourself. Perfection makes you freeze. Progress makes you move. And movement, no matter how small, is powerful. Perfection is external. It depends on comparison. Progress is internal. It depends on your own commitment to improvement. Even improving 1% today is still moving forward. Even small lessons learned today accumulate into wisdom tomorrow. Even minor corrections in your attitude, your habits, your thinking compound over time into a life transformed. Perfection also kills creativity. When you're obsessed with being perfect, you avoid taking risks. You avoid experimenting. You avoid failing. But failure is the greatest teacher. Failure is the pathway to mastery. Every mistake, every setback, every awkward attempt is progress disguised as imperfection. The 1% mindset teaches us to embrace imperfection, to see each attempt as a stepping stone, not as a verdict on our worth. Instead of asking, "Am I perfect?" ask, "What small improvement can I make today?" This simple question shifts your energy. It moves you from fear to action, from stagnation to growth, from comparison to self-mastery. The beauty of progress is that it compounds quietly. You may not notice the change immediately. You may still feel far from where you want to be. But 1 year from now, if you've improved one every day, you won't recognize the person you have become. Progress over perfection is freedom. It frees you from judgment, it frees you from anxiety, it frees you to experiment, to learn, to grow. And this freedom is priceless. So today, decide. Don't chase perfection, chase progress. Try, fail, learn, improve, repeat. Do it 1% better than yesterday, because perfection may never come, but progress, done consistently, changes everything. Let's take a moment to reflect on something that is often overlooked, but quietly shapes the way we think, feel, and act: your environment. Many people believe success, happiness, and growth come solely from their own effort. They think, if I just work hard enough, I'll succeed no matter what. But here's a truth that is rarely spoken aloud. You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Your environment, the people around you, the books you read, the content you consume, the conversations you entertain, has a profound influence on your mindset. It slowly, almost imperceptibly, molds your beliefs, habits, and identity. Think about it for a moment. If you spend your days around negativity, complaining, blaming, and pessimism, you will start noticing that your own thoughts begin to reflect that same energy. Your language will change, your attitude will shift, even your health and energy will be affected. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with people who are curious, disciplined, kind, and positive, you will find yourself raising your own standards. You will begin to adopt the habits, language, and mindset of those who inspire you. The same is true for what you watch, read, and listen to. Your mind absorbs what it is exposed to regularly. If your media is filled with fear, anger, and drama, your mind becomes agitated, reactive, and stressed. If your media is filled with knowledge, inspiration, and wisdom, your mind becomes calm, focused, and expansive. Environment is not just about people or media, it's also about your physical space. Cluttered spaces lead to cluttered minds. Chaotic spaces lead to chaotic thoughts. Spaces filled with beauty, order, and simplicity promote clarity, creativity, and peace. This is why small changes in your environment can lead to 1% improvements in your life that compound over time. Start with the people you allow into your inner circle. Are they supportive? Do they challenge you to grow? Or do they drain your energy, fuel your fears, and limit your vision? Next, examine your daily inputs. What are you reading, listening to, and watching every day? Is it elevating your thinking or keeping you stuck in patterns of fear and limitation? Even the places you spend time matter. Do you go to spaces that energize you, inspire you, and motivate you? Or do you linger in places that keep you passive, distracted, or negative? The subtle truth is this: your environment can either accelerate your growth or sabotage it silently. It is not always dramatic. It doesn't yell at you. It works quietly, molding your thoughts, shaping your habits, and influencing your decisions, until one day you look around and realize you have become a reflection of everything you have been exposed to. The 1% mindset here asks for awareness, not perfection. Notice what you allow into your mind and heart. Curate your environment with intention. Replace negative inputs with positive ones. Seek mentors who embody the qualities you wish to develop. Spend time with people who inspire curiosity, discipline, and kindness. Fill your mind with ideas, knowledge, and stories that lift you, even subtly. It may not seem like much today. Changing your environment doesn't feel dramatic, but over weeks, months, and years, it compounds quietly, influencing your thoughts, your choices, your habits, and ultimately your destiny. Remember, the 1% improvement isn't always about what you do. Sometimes it's about what you allow into your life. Every conversation, every piece of media, every relationship. Choose wisely. Because over time, your environment doesn't just shape your day, it shapes the very person you become. And that, my friends, is a 1% change that truly changes everything. Let's reflect on something that is quietly one of the most powerful skills a person can develop: emotional control. Most of us think life's challenges are about intelligence, talent, or opportunity. But in reality, the people who succeed, who remain peaceful, who make wise decisions, are not necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They are the ones who have learned to manage their emotions. Emotions are like waves in the ocean. They rise, they fall, they crash, and sometimes they roar unexpectedly. If you do not learn to ride these waves, they will toss you around. You will be reactive, impulsive, and often regretful. Emotional control does not mean suppressing your feelings. It does not mean pretending everything is fine. It means choosing your response to your feelings wisely. Think about anger, for example. Anger is natural. It signals that something is not right. But when anger controls you, it becomes destructive. It ruins relationships. It clouds judgment. It makes small problems feel enormous. Now think about fear. Fear is an important signal for caution. But when fear dominates, it paralyzes. It prevents you from taking risks. It keeps you small. Emotional control is about awareness. It is about noticing the emotion as it arises, understanding it, and responding in a way that serves your long-term well-being. Here's an important truth. Emotional control is a superpower because most people give away their power to their emotions. They let a bad day ruin their week. They let criticism destroy their confidence. They let rejection define their worth. The 1% mindset asks you to pause before reacting. Even a single breath, a single moment of reflection can prevent a lifetime of regret. Calm people do not have fewer challenges. They simply have learned to observe, decide, and move wisely. They understand that emotions are temporary. They understand that actions taken in emotional haste are almost always regretted later. Emotional control also gives clarity. When the mind is calm, decisions are better. When the mind is calm, relationships flourish. When the mind is calm, even difficult situations become manageable. It is not easy. It takes practice. It takes patience. It takes self-awareness. Start small. Notice when irritation rises. Pause, breathe. Ask, does this reaction serve me or harm me? Notice when anxiety starts whispering, don't try, you'll fail. Pause, breathe. Ask, what is the next small step I can take despite the fear? Emotional control is not about perfection. It's about progress. One day you may react perfectly. Another day you may not. But every time you pause, every time you reflect, you strengthen the muscle of